By the autumn of 1944, the Netherlands found itself ensnared in a web of despair, woven tightly by the oppressive German occupation that had begun in May 1940. The once vibrant cities of Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and The Hague lay under a pall of fear and uncertainty, their streets echoing with the footsteps of soldiers and the whispers of resistance. The German forces had fortified their grip on the country, and the Dutch populace was increasingly aware that their situation was dire. The Allied advance, which had sparked hope during the summer months, had stalled at the borders, leaving the Dutch to endure the harsh realities of war without the promise of liberation. The catalyst for the impending crisis was a railway strike initiated by the Dutch resistance in September 1944. This act of defiance, aimed at disrupting the German supply lines, was met with brutal retribution. The Germans responded with a blockade, effectively cutting off food and fuel supplies to the western provinces, including the densely populated urban centers of Haarlem and Alkmaar. This blockade marked the inception of what would come to be known as the Hunger Winter, a period characterized by extreme deprivation and suffering. When the cold winds of winter began to blow, the initial response of the Dutch citizens was one of disbelief. They had weathered hardships before, from the economic struggles of the Great Depression to the early years of occupation. However, as the days grew shorter and the temperatures plummeted, the stark reality of their situation became undeniable. The German-imposed rationing system, already stringent, was tightened further. Daily caloric intake plummeted to as low as 500 calories per person, a fraction of what was necessary to sustain life, let alone maintain health. In the heart of Haarlem and Alkmaar, schools that had once been bustling with the laughter and chatter of children became eerily silent. Teachers, accustomed to fostering a love of learning, now faced classrooms filled with gaunt faces and hollow eyes. The signs of malnutrition were unmistakable: listlessness, irritability, and a pervasive sense of fatigue. Initially, some educators dismissed the warnings of impending famine as alarmist. However, as the weeks passed and the evidence mounted, the gravity of the situation became impossible to ignore. The Dutch government in exile, operating from London, implored the Allies to expedite their liberation efforts. Yet, the military realities on the ground dictated a slower pace. The Battle of the Scheldt, crucial for opening the port of Antwerp, consumed Allied attention and resources, leaving the Dutch to fend for themselves against the encroaching winter. The civilian population, particularly in urban areas, bore the brunt of the shortages. Long queues formed outside shops, where shelves lay bare, and bartering became a way of life, with families trading precious heirlooms for scraps of food. In the countryside, farmers faced their own challenges, as German requisitions stripped them of their harvests. The black market flourished, but prices were exorbitant, accessible only to those with means. Amidst this backdrop of scarcity, the role of educators began to shift dramatically. Teachers, once focused solely on imparting knowledge, found themselves grappling with the immediate needs of their students. The classroom became a microcosm of the larger struggle, a place where the effects of the hunger winter were felt most acutely. It was here, in these hallowed halls of learning, that a quiet resolve began to take shape, a determination to protect the most vulnerable from the ravages of starvation. When the first snows of December blanketed the Netherlands, the full extent of the crisis became apparent. The hunger winter was no longer a distant threat, it was a present reality. For the teachers of Haarlem and Alkmaar, the time for action had arrived. They understood that education, while vital, could not sustain life without nourishment. The struggle for survival had begun, and they were determined to do whatever it took to ensure their students would not fall victim to the famine that loomed over them. The hunger winter of 1944–1945 was not merely a consequence of wartime deprivation, it was the culmination of years of occupation and resistance. The Netherlands, once a prosperous nation, had been transformed into a battleground of ideologies. The German occupation had imposed a regime of fear and control, with the Gestapo monitoring the populace for any signs of dissent. The Dutch resistance, while courageous, operated in a perilous environment where even the slightest misstep could lead to dire consequences. Geographically, the Netherlands is characterized by its low-lying landscape, crisscrossed by rivers, canals, and dikes. This topography, while beautiful, posed unique challenges during the winter months. The harsh weather conditions exacerbated the already dire situation, as transportation routes became impassable and food supplies dwindled. Urban centers like Haarlem and Alkmaar, with their dense populations, were particularly vulnerable to the effects of the blockade. The reliance on food imports and the disruption of supply lines meant that the cities were cut off from the agricultural resources of the countryside. Daily life during the hunger winter was marked by hardship and ingenuity. Families struggled to make ends meet, often relying on ration cards that provided only a fraction of the food needed for survival. The German authorities enforced strict rationing, and the penalties for exceeding allowances were severe. As a result, many families resorted to desperate measures, bartering whatever possessions they had left for food. The black market thrived, with prices soaring beyond the reach of most, leaving the majority of the population to grapple with hunger and deprivation. In this environment, the role of educators took on a new significance. Teachers, who had dedicated their lives to nurturing young minds, found themselves thrust into the role of caretakers and protectors. The classrooms, once sanctuaries of learning, became places of refuge where children could find solace amidst the chaos. The educators understood that their responsibility extended beyond academic instruction. They were now tasked with safeguarding the well-being of their students. The logistics of resistance were complex and fraught with danger. The Dutch resistance, comprised of various factions, operated in secrecy, coordinating efforts to undermine the German occupation. In Haarlem and Alkmaar, teachers began to form underground networks, sharing information and resources to support their students. These clandestine operations required careful planning and execution, as the risk of discovery was ever present. False ration cards became a lifeline, allowing educators to procure additional supplies without arousing suspicion. The act of forging these documents was a dangerous endeavor, but the survival of their students depended on their success. By the time the winter months dragged on, the teachers' resolve only deepened. They established clandestine kitchens within school buildings, hidden from the prying eyes of German authorities. Here, they transformed meager ingredients into nourishing meals, often using whatever they could scavenge or barter for. The kitchens became sanctuaries of hope, where the educators' commitment to their students was translated into tangible action. Each meal prepared was a testament to their ingenuity and determination, a reflection of their unwavering belief in the importance of community and solidarity. The emotional toll of the hunger winter weighed heavily on the teachers. Witnessing the suffering of their students, many of whom arrived at school with hollow cheeks and sunken eyes, was a constant reminder of the stakes involved. The educators grappled with feelings of helplessness, yet they found strength in their shared purpose. They understood that their actions, while perilous, were necessary to combat the encroaching despair. By the end of that year, the teachers of Haarlem and Alkmaar stood at a crossroads. The hunger winter had transformed their roles, forcing them to confront the harsh realities of war and its impact on the lives of their students. The time for action had arrived, and they were determined to rise to the occasion, to defy the odds and protect the most vulnerable among them. The struggle for survival had begun, and the educators were prepared to fight for the future of their children, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. The dawn of 1945 brought with it the harshest months of the hunger winter, a period marked by bitter cold and relentless scarcity. For the teachers of Haarlem and Alkmaar, the struggle for survival intensified. The underground meal programs, while a lifeline, faced mounting challenges as food supplies dwindled and the German authorities increased their vigilance. It was a time of trial, where the educators' resolve was tested at every turn. The scarcity of food forced the teachers to become resourceful, employing a variety of strategies to keep their clandestine kitchens operational. Foraging became a necessity, as they scoured the countryside for anything edible. Roots, bulbs, and even tulip bulbs, normally ornamental, were harvested and transformed into sustenance. It was a testament to the teachers' ingenuity, a reflection of their determination to provide for their students against all odds. Community support, though limited, played a crucial role in sustaining the underground efforts. Local families, themselves struggling to make ends meet, contributed what little they could spare. It was an act of solidarity, a recognition of the shared plight that bound them together. The teachers, buoyed by this support, found renewed strength to continue their mission. The German authorities, aware of the growing resistance, intensified their efforts to maintain control. Inspections became more frequent, and the penalties for defiance more severe. The teachers, acutely aware of the risks, navigated this treacherous landscape with caution. They understood that discovery could mean arrest or worse, yet the stakes were too high to abandon their cause. Tension mounted as the winter wore on. The educators, driven by the desperate need to keep their students alive, walked a fine line between defiance and survival. Each day was a calculated risk, a delicate balance between providing for their students and evading detection. It was a precarious existence, one that demanded constant vigilance and unwavering resolve. Despite the challenges, the teachers' efforts bore fruit. The underground meal programs, though modest, provided a lifeline for the children. The educators, once focused solely on academic instruction, had become guardians of their students' well-being. Their resolve, forged in the crucible of crisis, was unyielding. They had embarked on a path of defiance, one that would test their limits and redefine their roles in the lives of the children they served. As the winter of 1945 dragged on, the teachers of Haarlem and Alkmaar stood as beacons of hope in a landscape of despair. Their struggle for survival, marked by courage and compassion, was a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity. In the face of overwhelming adversity, they had chosen to stand together, united in their determination to protect the most vulnerable among them. It was a choice that would leave an indelible mark on their lives and the lives of the children they served. The clandestine kitchens, hidden within the walls of schools, became more than just places of nourishment. They transformed into sanctuaries of hope. Each meal prepared was not merely sustenance but a symbol of resistance against the oppressive forces that sought to break their spirit. The teachers, many of whom had never envisioned themselves in such roles, became adept at improvisation. They learned to stretch every ingredient, to make do with what little they could procure, and to create meals that, while simple, were infused with love and care. As the weeks turned into months, the toll of the hunger winter became increasingly evident. The children, once vibrant and full of life, were now shadows of their former selves. The teachers witnessed firsthand the ravages of malnutrition, the pallor of their students' skin, the dullness in their eyes, and the lethargy that permeated their movements. It was a heartbreaking sight, one that fueled the educators' resolve to fight even harder for their students' survival. In the face of such despair, the teachers found solace in their shared mission. They held clandestine meetings, often late at night, where they strategized and shared resources. These gatherings became a source of strength, a reminder that they were not alone in their struggle. Each teacher brought their unique skills to the table, whether it was knowledge of local resources, cooking techniques, or connections within the community. Together, they formed a formidable network of support, united by a common goal: to keep the children alive. As the winter deepened, the teachers also began to realize the importance of mental and emotional nourishment. They understood that, while food was essential, so too was the need for hope and encouragement. They organized small gatherings, where stories were shared, songs were sung, and laughter, though rare, was encouraged. These moments of joy became vital lifelines for both teachers and students, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit could find ways to connect and uplift. The educators also took it upon themselves to educate their students about the realities of their situation, albeit in a manner that was age-appropriate. They spoke of resilience, of the importance of community, and of the strength that could be found in unity. They instilled a sense of purpose in their students, encouraging them to look out for one another, to share what little they had, and to support their families in whatever ways they could. It was a lesson in empathy that would resonate long after the hunger winter had passed. As February approached, the teachers faced a critical juncture. The underground meal programs were becoming increasingly difficult to sustain. Supplies were dwindling, and the risks of discovery were mounting. The German authorities had begun to crack down on any signs of resistance, and the teachers knew that they were walking a tightrope. Yet, the thought of abandoning their students was unfathomable. They had come too far, fought too hard, and forged too many bonds to turn back now. In a desperate bid to keep the meal programs alive, the teachers began to reach out to local farmers and merchants, appealing to their sense of community and shared humanity. They explained the plight of the children, the dire circumstances that had forced them into this struggle. Many were moved by the educators' passion and commitment, and some began to offer assistance, albeit cautiously. It was a dangerous game, but one that the teachers were willing to play for the sake of their students. As the weeks passed, the situation became increasingly precarious. The teachers received word of impending inspections, and the fear of discovery loomed large. They knew that if caught, the consequences would be severe not just for themselves, but for the children they were trying to protect. The stakes had never been higher, and the tension within the clandestine kitchens was palpable. Yet, despite the fear, the teachers pressed on, driven by an unwavering commitment to their students. The culmination of their efforts came one fateful day in late February. As the teachers prepared for what they hoped would be a successful day of feeding their students, they received alarming news. A raid was planned for that very afternoon. The German authorities had been tipped off about the underground meal programs, and the teachers knew they had to act quickly. In a frantic scramble, they devised a plan to disperse the food supplies and hide any evidence of their operations. As the clock ticked down, the teachers worked with a sense of urgency. They divided the food among themselves, instructing each other on where to hide it and how to feign normalcy in the face of impending danger. The atmosphere was charged with adrenaline and fear, yet there was also a sense of solidarity that permeated the air. They were in this together, and they would face whatever came next as a united front. When the German soldiers arrived, the teachers put on their best faces, feigning innocence and compliance. They welcomed the soldiers into the school, offering them a tour of the premises while their hearts raced in their chests. The soldiers, suspicious but not yet aware of the true nature of the teachers' activities, conducted their inspection with a keen eye. The educators held their breath, praying that their efforts to conceal the truth would hold. As the soldiers moved through the classrooms, the tension was palpable. The teachers exchanged furtive glances, silently communicating their fears and hopes. They knew that one slip, one misstep, could lead to disaster. Yet, as the inspection dragged on, it became clear that the soldiers were not as thorough as they could have been. Perhaps the sheer exhaustion of the winter had dulled their senses, or perhaps they were simply overwhelmed by the enormity of the situation. Whatever the reason, the teachers seized upon the opportunity, maintaining their composure and deflecting any probing questions. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the soldiers concluded their inspection and departed, leaving the teachers in a state of disbelief. They had narrowly escaped discovery, but the close call served as a stark reminder of the risks they faced daily. The teachers gathered together, their hearts still racing, and shared a collective sigh of relief. They had survived another day, but the struggle was far from over. As the winter continued to drag on, the teachers remained steadfast in their commitment to their students. They understood that the fight for survival was not just about food, it was about hope, resilience, and the unwavering belief that they could make a difference. The clandestine kitchens, once mere survival mechanisms, had evolved into symbols of resistance, embodying the spirit of defiance that characterized the teachers' efforts. In the weeks that followed, the teachers continued to adapt and innovate, finding new ways to sustain their underground meal programs. They forged deeper connections with the community, drawing upon the strength of solidarity that had emerged during the hunger winter. Each meal prepared, each child nourished, became a testament to their unwavering resolve. As the cold grip of winter began to loosen, the teachers reflected on the journey they had undertaken. They had defied the odds, standing firm in the face of adversity. The struggle for survival had transformed them, shaping their understanding of their roles as educators and as members of a community. They had witnessed the power of compassion, the strength of unity, and the resilience of the human spirit. The hunger winter would leave an indelible mark on the teachers of Haarlem and Alkmaar, a reminder of the sacrifices made and the lives saved. Their story would become a powerful testament to the enduring spirit of humanity, a legacy that would inspire future generations to advocate for the vulnerable and to stand against oppression. As the season shifted and the first signs of spring began to emerge, the teachers looked forward with cautious optimism. They had weathered the storm, and though the scars of the hunger winter would linger, they had emerged stronger and more united than ever. The fight for survival had forged bonds that would last a lifetime, and the lessons learned during this harrowing time would shape their approach to education for years to come. As the calendar turned to February 1945, the Dutch landscape lay frozen under a relentless winter sky. The biting cold seeped through the walls of homes and schools alike, a constant reminder of the harsh conditions that gripped the nation. In cities like Haarlem and Alkmaar, the struggle for survival intensified. Yet, amidst this bleak backdrop, a remarkable transformation was quietly taking place, a revelation that would alter the course of the hunger winter. The teachers, who had been toiling in secrecy to provide sustenance for their students, began to notice a subtle shift. It started with small gestures: a loaf of bread left discreetly on a school doorstep, a sack of potatoes tucked into a classroom corner. These offerings, though modest, were lifelines in a time of scarcity. As word of the underground meal program spread, the community began to rally around the educators, recognizing the vital role they played in keeping the children alive. Local families, themselves struggling to make ends meet, contributed what little they could spare. It was a testament to the enduring spirit of solidarity that characterized the Dutch people during the occupation. Farmers from the surrounding countryside, risking their own safety, smuggled in vegetables and dairy products under the cover of darkness. These clandestine deliveries were orchestrated with military precision, a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of those involved. In the heart of Haarlem, a small bakery became a hub of activity. The baker, a quiet man with a deep sense of duty, opened his doors to the teachers, allowing them to use his ovens to bake bread for the children. The aroma of freshly baked loaves wafted through the streets, a rare and comforting scent in a world dominated by hunger. It was a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest times, humanity could prevail. The revelation of community support ignited a renewed sense of purpose among the educators. They realized they were not alone in their struggle. They were part of a larger movement against the oppressive conditions of the occupation. This newfound solidarity infused their efforts with a vigor that defied the harsh realities of the hunger winter. The secret kitchens, once a desperate measure, became a symbol of resistance, showcasing the power of community in the face of adversity. As February wore on, the teachers' resolve only strengthened. They worked tirelessly, often late into the night, to prepare meals for their students. The clandestine kitchens buzzed with activity, each meal a small victory in the ongoing battle against starvation. The educators, many of whom had never cooked on such a scale, became adept at stretching ingredients, transforming meager rations into nourishing meals. It was a testament to their ingenuity and determination, a reflection of their unwavering commitment to their students' well-being. The impact of these efforts was profound. Children who had once arrived at school listless and malnourished began to show signs of improvement. Their cheeks, once hollow, filled out, and a spark returned to their eyes. The teachers, who had witnessed the toll of hunger firsthand, found solace in these small victories. Each child saved was a testament to the power of community, a reminder that even in the bleakest of times, hope could flourish. As the month drew to a close, the teachers reflected on the journey they had undertaken. They had defied the odds, standing firm in the face of adversity. The revelation of community support had transformed their struggle, turning it into a collective effort that transcended individual sacrifice. It was a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit, a testament to the enduring power of solidarity. The teachers began to organize community meetings, inviting local families to discuss how they could further support the underground meal programs. These gatherings fostered a sense of unity, allowing families to share their own experiences and challenges. The educators listened intently, understanding that the struggle against hunger was not theirs alone. It was a shared battle that required collective action. During these meetings, stories were exchanged, laughter erupted, and tears were shed. The teachers encouraged parents to bring their children along, fostering a sense of community among the younger generation. They emphasized the importance of empathy and kindness, teaching the children that even the smallest acts of generosity could make a significant difference. This emphasis on community and shared responsibility became a cornerstone of their mission. As the teachers continued to navigate the complexities of the hunger winter, they also recognized the importance of education in fostering resilience. They began to incorporate lessons about community support and the value of helping others into their curriculum. The classrooms transformed into spaces of hope, where children learned not only about academics but also about the power of compassion and collective action. The teachers also sought to engage with local artists and musicians, who were eager to contribute to the cause. They organized small performances and art exhibitions, using the proceeds to fund their underground meal programs. These events became a source of joy and inspiration, reminding the community that even in the face of adversity, creativity could thrive. As February progressed, the teachers' efforts began to attract attention beyond their immediate community. Stories of their resilience and determination started to circulate, reaching the ears of those in neighboring towns. The underground meal programs became a symbol of hope, inspiring others to take action in their own communities. The teachers found themselves at the forefront of a movement, one that transcended geographical boundaries and united people in a common cause. The growing network of support allowed the teachers to expand their operations. They established additional clandestine kitchens, enlisting more volunteers to help with meal preparation and distribution. The sense of camaraderie among the educators and community members deepened, as they worked side by side, united by a shared purpose. However, the increased visibility of their efforts also brought new challenges. The German authorities, ever vigilant, began to take notice of the burgeoning community support. Inspections became more frequent, and the threat of discovery loomed larger than ever. The teachers understood that they were walking a fine line, and the stakes had never been higher. In response, the educators implemented new strategies to safeguard their operations. They established a system of coded messages to communicate with one another, ensuring that information about the underground meal programs remained confidential. They also trained volunteers on how to respond in the event of an inspection, emphasizing the importance of remaining calm and collected. Despite the risks, the teachers remained resolute in their commitment to their students and the community. They understood that the fight against hunger was not just a battle for survival, it was a struggle for dignity and humanity. Each meal prepared was a testament to their unwavering resolve, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope could prevail. As the days turned into weeks, the impact of their efforts continued to resonate throughout the community. Families who had once felt isolated and helpless began to find strength in their shared experiences. The teachers had ignited a spark of resilience, reminding everyone that they were not alone in their struggle. The children, too, began to embody this newfound spirit of community. They took it upon themselves to contribute in whatever ways they could, whether it was by sharing their meager lunches with classmates or helping to distribute food to families in need. The educators watched with pride as their students transformed into advocates for compassion and solidarity, embodying the very values they had sought to instill. As February drew to a close, the teachers gathered to reflect on the journey they had undertaken. They had faced unimaginable challenges, yet through it all, they had discovered the power of community. The revelation of support from families, farmers, and local businesses had transformed their struggle into a collective effort, one that transcended individual sacrifice. The teachers understood that the hunger winter was far from over, and the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. Yet, they also recognized that they were no longer alone in their fight. The bonds forged during this time of adversity had created a network of solidarity that would endure, shaping the future of their community. As they prepared for the months ahead, the teachers remained committed to their mission. They knew that the fight against hunger was not just about food, it was about fostering a sense of hope and resilience in the face of adversity. They had become more than educators. They had become advocates for compassion, champions of community, and beacons of hope in a world overshadowed by despair. The legacy of their efforts would extend far beyond the hunger winter, shaping the values and principles that would guide their community for generations to come. The teachers had not only nourished the bodies of their students, they had nourished their spirits, instilling in them the belief that together, they could overcome any obstacle. As the first signs of spring began to emerge, the teachers looked forward with cautious optimism. They had weathered the storm, and though the scars of the hunger winter would linger, they had emerged stronger and more united than ever. The fight for survival had forged bonds that would last a lifetime, and the lessons learned during this harrowing time would shape their approach to education for years to come. As spring 1945 approached, the Netherlands began to emerge from the suffocating grasp of the hunger winter. The thawing landscape brought with it a sense of cautious optimism, yet the consequences of the teachers' defiance during the famine were becoming starkly apparent. The underground meal programs, which had sustained countless children through the darkest months, had drawn the ire of the German authorities, who were increasingly vigilant in their efforts to quash any signs of resistance. The first week of March marked a turning point. A raid on a school in Alkmaar sent shockwaves through the community, shattering the fragile sense of security that had been painstakingly built over the winter months. German soldiers, acting on a tip-off, stormed the building, uncovering one of the secret kitchens that had been established to feed the malnourished children. The teachers involved were arrested, their bravery met with swift retribution. The news spread rapidly, igniting fear and uncertainty among the remaining educators who had risked everything to keep their students alive. The repercussions of this raid were immediate and profound. The teachers who had been arrested faced severe punishment, and the community was left grappling with the emotional weight of their choices. The educators had acted out of a moral imperative, driven by the desperate need to protect their students. Yet, the cost of their defiance was now painfully clear. For some, the burden of guilt was overwhelming. They had put their lives on the line for the sake of their students, and now they were forced to confront the consequences of their actions. In the aftermath of the raid, the remaining teachers faced a moral dilemma. Should they continue their efforts to provide sustenance for their students, knowing that the risk of discovery was greater than ever? Or should they abandon their underground kitchens to protect themselves and their families? The emotional toll of the hunger winter weighed heavily on their hearts, and the fear of arrest loomed large. Yet, the teachers understood that their actions had saved lives, and the thought of abandoning their students was unbearable. In the days that followed, the teachers convened in secret, grappling with their options. They shared stories of the children who had benefited from the meals, recounting the moments of joy that had emerged amidst the suffering. They spoke of the resilience they had witnessed, the children who had regained strength and vitality thanks to their efforts. It was a powerful reminder of the impact they had made, a testament to the importance of their mission. Despite the risks, the educators ultimately decided to press on. They understood that the fight for their students' survival was not just about food, it was about dignity, hope, and the belief that even in the darkest of times, compassion could prevail. They resolved to continue their clandestine operations, albeit with greater caution. The underground kitchens would remain operational, but the teachers would need to adapt their strategies to evade detection. As the weeks passed, the tide of the war began to turn. The liberation of the Netherlands was imminent, and the teachers found renewed strength in the knowledge that their efforts were part of a larger resistance movement. The community rallied around them, offering support and solidarity in the face of adversity. Families whose children had been saved by the underground meal programs expressed their gratitude, reinforcing the bond between educators and the community they served. Yet, the threat of discovery remained ever present. The German authorities intensified their scrutiny, conducting inspections with increasing frequency. The teachers navigated this treacherous landscape with caution, aware that each day could bring new challenges. They employed a variety of strategies to keep their operations hidden, from altering their routines to using coded language in their communications. The stakes were high, but the teachers remained resolute, driven by the knowledge that their actions were saving lives. As the spring sun began to warm the earth, the teachers continued their work, transforming meager rations into nourishing meals. They became adept at stretching ingredients, using every resource available to them. The clandestine kitchens buzzed with activity, each meal a small victory in the ongoing battle against starvation. The educators, who had once been focused solely on academic instruction, had become guardians of their students' well-being. The emotional toll of the hunger winter lingered, but the teachers found solace in the small victories they achieved. Children who had once arrived at school listless and malnourished began to show signs of improvement. Their cheeks, once hollow, filled out, and a spark returned to their eyes. The teachers, who had witnessed the toll of hunger firsthand, found hope in these transformations. Each child saved was a testament to the power of community, a reminder that even in the bleakest of times, hope could flourish. As the month of March drew to a close, the teachers reflected on the journey they had undertaken. They had defied the odds, standing firm in the face of adversity. The community's support had transformed their struggle into a collective effort, showcasing the power of solidarity in the face of oppression. Yet, the cost of their defiance weighed heavily on their hearts, a reminder of the sacrifices they had made. The liberation of the Netherlands was on the horizon, and with it came the promise of freedom and relief. For the teachers, the end of the occupation marked a bittersweet victory. They had succeeded in their mission, but the scars of the hunger winter would linger long after the war had ended. The emotional weight of their experiences would shape their understanding of their roles as educators and as members of society. In the aftermath of the hunger winter, the educators faced a new challenge, rebuilding their lives and their communities. The experiences of the past months had left an indelible mark, shaping their understanding of the importance of compassion and solidarity in education. They had witnessed the power of community, the strength of resilience, and the enduring spirit of humanity. These lessons would guide them as they navigated the uncertain future, forever changed by the trials they had faced. While the war drew to a close and the Netherlands began to rebuild, the aftermath of the hunger winter ushered in a period of profound transformation. The educators who had defied the odds to keep their students alive emerged from the crisis with a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper understanding of their roles within their communities. The experiences of the hunger winter had reshaped their identities as teachers, highlighting the importance of compassion, resilience, and community support in education. In the wake of the famine, schools across the country began to incorporate themes of solidarity and collective responsibility into their curricula. The lessons learned during the crisis became the foundation for a new approach to teaching, one that emphasized the importance of empathy and understanding in the face of adversity. The educators, once seen solely as purveyors of knowledge, were now recognized as vital pillars of support and guidance within their communities. In Haarlem and Alkmaar, the teachers who had risked everything to save their students became local heroes. Their stories of courage and ingenuity were shared widely, inspiring others to reflect on the role of education in society. The secret kitchens, once a symbol of resistance, became a powerful reminder of the impact that a small group of dedicated individuals could have in the face of overwhelming odds. The educators had transformed their classrooms into sanctuaries of hope, places where children could find solace and support amidst the chaos of war. The transformation extended beyond the classroom. The community, galvanized by the experiences of the hunger winter, embraced a renewed sense of unity. Families who had once struggled in isolation now understood the power of collective action, the strength that came from standing together. The bonds forged during the crisis endured, shaping the social fabric of the post-war Netherlands. Neighbors who had once been strangers became allies, united in their commitment to rebuild their communities and support one another. For the teachers, the post-war period was a time of reflection and renewal. They had emerged from the hunger winter with a deeper understanding of their roles, a recognition of the impact they could have beyond the confines of the classroom. The experiences of the past months had taught them the importance of empathy and compassion, lessons that would guide them as they continued to educate future generations. As the country rebuilt, the enduring legacy of the hunger winter became an integral part of the national consciousness. The stories of the teachers and their students were woven into the fabric of Dutch history, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The experiences of the famine served as a powerful reminder of the importance of community, of the need to support one another in times of crisis. The educators had become symbols of hope, their actions inspiring future generations to stand against oppression and advocate for the vulnerable. Yet, the transformation was not without its challenges. The scars of the famine lingered, both physically and emotionally. Many children who had survived the hunger winter faced long-term health issues, a reminder of the toll that the famine had taken. For the teachers, the emotional weight of their experiences was a constant companion, a reminder of the sacrifices they had made. The memories of the children who had suffered, the faces of those who had been lost, haunted them as they navigated their new roles. Despite these challenges, the transformation was undeniable. The educators, once seen as mere instructors, had become beacons of hope and resilience. Their commitment to their students during the hunger winter had reshaped the perception of education, highlighting the importance of compassion and solidarity in teaching. It was a legacy that would endure, inspiring future generations to advocate for the vulnerable and to stand against oppression. In the years that followed, the teachers continued to share their stories, ensuring that the lessons of the past were not forgotten. They spoke of the importance of community support, of the need to stand together in times of crisis. Their accounts served as a testament to the power of the human spirit, a reminder of the impact that one can have in the face of adversity. The educators became mentors, guiding the next generation of teachers and instilling in them the values of empathy and compassion. As the world faced new challenges, the account of the Dutch schoolteachers during the hunger winter remained as relevant as ever. It served as a call to action, a reminder of the importance of standing together in times of crisis. The legacy of these educators was a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity, a beacon of hope and inspiration for future generations. In the years following the of World War II, the enduring legacy of the Dutch schoolteachers who defied the hunger winter of 1945 began to take shape, evolving into a powerful narrative of resilience, community, and the transformative power of education. As the Netherlands emerged from the shadows of occupation, the stories of these educators became woven into the very fabric of national identity, serving as a poignant reminder of the human capacity for compassion in the face of adversity. The immediate aftermath of the hunger winter was marked by a profound shift in the educational landscape of the Netherlands. The experiences of the teachers during the famine catalyzed a re-evaluation of the role of education in society. No longer viewed solely as a means of imparting knowledge, education began to be seen as a vital tool for fostering community resilience and social responsibility. In the years that followed, educational reforms were implemented that emphasized not just academic achievement but also the importance of empathy, cooperation, and civic engagement. Schools began to incorporate lessons on social justice and community service into their curricula, encouraging students to understand their responsibilities to one another and to society as a whole. This shift was a direct reflection of the values that had emerged during the hunger winter, where the survival of the most vulnerable had depended on collective action and solidarity. Teachers who had lived through the hunger winter became influential voices in shaping this new educational paradigm. They shared their experiences in classrooms and public forums, advocating for a curriculum that emphasized the importance of compassion and community support. Their stories served as powerful teaching tools, illustrating the real-world implications of empathy and the necessity of standing up against injustice. As the years passed, the memory of the teachers who had risked everything to feed their students became enshrined in the collective consciousness of the Dutch people. Memorials and commemorative events sprang up across the country, honoring the courage and sacrifice of these educators. In Haarlem and Alkmaar, where the underground meal programs had flourished, plaques and monuments were erected to celebrate the enduring legacy of the teachers who had defied the odds. One notable memorial, located in the heart of Haarlem, features a bronze statue of a teacher kneeling beside a child, symbolizing the bond of care and protection that defined their relationship during the hunger winter. This statue serves as a focal point for annual remembrance ceremonies, where community members gather to reflect on the lessons of the past and to honor the spirit of solidarity that had emerged during the darkest days of the occupation. In schools throughout the Netherlands, special days of remembrance are observed, where students engage in activities that promote awareness of the hunger winter and the importance of community support. These events often include storytelling sessions, where educators share first-hand accounts of their experiences, allowing students to connect with the past in a meaningful way. By fostering a sense of historical awareness, these commemorations ensure that the sacrifices made by the teachers are not forgotten but rather celebrated as a vital part of Dutch heritage. The enduring legacy of the teachers during the hunger winter extends far beyond the immediate post-war years. Their actions during the famine have had a lasting impact on the values and principles that guide Dutch society today. The emphasis on community support, social responsibility, and the importance of standing together in times of crisis continues to resonate within the fabric of the nation. In the decades following the war, the Netherlands has faced various challenges, including economic downturns, social unrest, and the complexities of globalization. Yet, the lessons learned during the hunger winter have remained relevant, guiding the responses of individuals and communities alike. The spirit of solidarity that characterized the teachers' efforts has inspired countless initiatives aimed at supporting the vulnerable and advocating for social justice. Non-profit organizations and community groups have emerged, driven by the same principles of compassion and collective action that defined the educators' response to the hunger winter. These organizations work tirelessly to address issues such as poverty, inequality, and social exclusion, echoing the commitment to community support that was so vital during the famine. The teacher's legacy lives on through these efforts, reminding society of the importance of standing together to uplift those in need. Moreover, the narrative of the hunger winter has transcended national borders, resonating with audiences around the world. The account of the Dutch schoolteachers has been shared in documentaries, books, and educational programs, serving as a universal testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Their experiences have inspired individuals and communities globally to advocate for the vulnerable and to stand against oppression, reinforcing the idea that even in the darkest times, hope can prevail. As the world grapples with new challenges, be it the refugee crisis, climate change, or social inequality, the enduring legacy of the teachers during the hunger winter serves as a powerful call to action. Their story reminds us that the fight for justice and compassion is ongoing, and that the lessons of the past must inform our responses to contemporary issues. In classrooms around the world, educators draw upon the experiences of the Dutch teachers to inspire their students to become active participants in their communities. By sharing stories of resilience and solidarity, they instill a sense of responsibility in the next generation, encouraging them to advocate for those who are marginalized and to work towards a more just and equitable society. The enduring legacy of the hunger winter is not merely a historical account, It is a living testament to the power of education, community, and compassion. It challenges us to reflect on our roles within our communities and to consider how we can contribute to the well-being of others.